Hey everyone, this is Naren's Life with MS. I am Naren, and welcome to the last Super Sunday of 2025. This is huge considering that, I'm also reaching out to about 120 episodes. I think today might be 119, 118, something like that. But in doing a lot of you know these videos, I am starting to see that I am slowly going to start evolving this channel. As with the years evolving, I do want to evolve this channel to become a little more relevant to multiple sclerosis, maybe make it a little bit more relevant to other autoimmune conditions as a whole. And so definitely I'm looking forward to getting your insights as to how I can make it a little more um, you know relevant for everyone. But that being said, of course, considering that a Super Sunday is more or less a retrospective of this week, something that I did want to talk about was the fact that, there are quite a few. One thing that I have noticed especially is, how often news articles about multiple sclerosis actually come up. Normally, um, even given any random day that I actually type multiple sclerosis into um, my, you know, in Google search or anywhere else, and I just click on the news tab, I do tend to see at least one article that is, um, released within the past 24 to 48 hours. And despite the fact that MS is probably not the most well known autoimmune condition. That would probably go to something like diabetes or um, you know other things, from rheumatoid arthritis to um, you know there are hundreds and thousands of other diseases that are out there. But and something that becomes very apparent is, unless someone knows someone, or you are the patient, MS patient, usually you will not look for um, information regarding that, information regarding multiple sclerosis at any point in time, right? One thing I can definitely say is that, when I was diagnosed, and this was way back in 2009, is that, um, when I heard multiple sclerosis, my one of my first thoughts was whether, if it was multiple sclerosis, whether there was a certain thing called single sclerosis, or is it called a sclerose? Um, you know, where like what makes something multiple when a single version of it is not present, right? So that was one thing that I did have to share. And one thing that I definitely do want um, from anyone who does want to share their thoughts, their opinions, and of course their comments is, how I can make this a little more available or a little more open to more people, not only in terms of awareness, but more in terms of how they can, use this platform to pretty much get certain um, answers, get certain doubts clarified, or even certain um, certain assurances regarding their medical condition or their disease as such, right? Even if it's MS or something completely different. So that is one thing that I do want to um, you know, pivot, or pretty much this was one of the reasons that I actually started this channel for. And I do really hope that, I do get some great insights on, how to, um, you know, make this available to more people so that they can pretty much not only gain, um, gain, you know, certain things, certain experiences from my side, but also gain experiences from other sides, right? One thing that I do generally tend to see quite often is, seeing what people tend to post on, subreddits or other forums that, do have more participation from patients of multiple sclerosis to actually understand, what seems to be, their big concern. And one of the big things that I do tend to see is that, MS, while it does have a fairly large population, a lot of times, because no two people will have the exact same symptoms, it becomes very different. Pretty much, going forth with any treatment, going forth with any form of, um, you know, going for any type of advocacy becomes a little bit difficult. So, just simply because, something that I might experience very rarely or rarely might be much more commonplace for someone else. And because there are other issues that I deal with that are maybe more common for me, it might not prove to be as, you know, important or as big of an issue for someone else. So definitely one thing that I do want to do is, of course, moving forward in 2026, is to pretty much bring in, you know, other people's experiences of having, this medical condition, how they tend to, what they tend to find as their biggest issue, what they tend to find as, um, what they tend to find as their big showstopper when it comes to, when it comes to living with this condition, so that, we can almost compare notes and see, if there are certain things that can happen that can overall improve our lives. That would become, definitely a lot better for a whole lot of us, right? And of course, a lot of times, something that, because there are, I can almost say this for almost in terms of certainty that, every single MS multiple sclerosis case is very unique. Um, so much so that, when we are talking about, you know pharmaceutical companies creating more or less something that, goes towards, creating unique treatment opportunities or unique treatment options for the different patients of that medical condition, I think MS definitely stands to gain, a lot more, um, a lot more fame, or or a lot more name, more than fame, name, because it can be so, it can be so different for any two people, with the same condition. So I do want your opinions on this thing. So do provide your insights, do provide your ideas, do provide your experiences, and do share certain things that, I can do definitely with this channel, so that, not only are we reaching out to a slightly larger audience, but also making it much, make it so that it is received well by a lot more people, either people who do have multiple sclerosis or people who know of, have a loved one or a family member with multiple sclerosis. So, with that said, yeah, I do hope you do help me you know, with this small thing, so that we can also see that this channel does end up helping people who actually do need it, because a lot of times what ends up happening is that there are people who, just like me, all the way back 16 years back, when I was experiencing the symptoms and did not know what was happening. I thought I had something wrong with my eye, and then something wrong with my legs, and I could not, and anyone in granted, maybe I wasn't the smartest person ever to actually think that those two were connected, but considering that they were at like opposite ends of my body, and I had no prior knowledge of this medical condition even existing, um, it kind of almost became um, a little bit of a relief to know that, okay, both of these issues that I have were connected, um, you know were actually related to each other. So that is one thing that I do have to share. But of course, I do hope that you do come up with some great comments as to what I can actually do to make this channel a little more available, a little more open, and a little more friendly to other people that are have MS, or maybe have other conditions that have very similar very similar symptoms as MS, so that we can definitely help a much larger group of people. And with that said, I do hope you've had a great weekend, and I hope you've enjoyed the last weekend of 2025 very well. And with that said, this is Nareen's Life with MS. I am Nareen. And yes, do share your comments so that we can get the conversation started. And with that said, good night and sweet dreams.